Hello and welcome to my new page. Just a bit about me. My name's Mike. I'm a degree qualified electrical engineer with 20 years experience in the field. I also work as a CAD tech and I do designs too, so design in the explosive atmospheres, electrical design in explosive atmospheres. I've decided to do some short tutorials on CAD and other programs that I use regularly to help anyone starting out in the field. I'm going to start right at the basics and then work my way all the way through. So if you want to follow me, hit the subscribe button. So to start with, make sure you have a decent mouse and responsive keyboard. This is true for not just for CAD but for all the programs I'm going to work with. Trackpads don't work the way you need them to, and using the keyboard for shortcuts will speed up your work in a great deal. So yeah, I'm going to start with CAD. When you load up CAD, you start with this page. I generally change the settings in CAD. Once I've created my own template that I like to use, I change the settings and then it can just start straight away on your template. It doesn't need to go through all this gubbins to get in there. So when you go to new, obviously if you've just started, I've just opened up CAD, you won't have all of these things. You have templates. The templates you use, so if you're going to open a template, you'll find that the templates files, what you want is AutoCad ISO. Always use AutoCad ISO, especially if you say in the UK, it's metric system and AutoCad ISO has all the settings that you're going to need to work with. So when you first open it, you come to your drawing page. It opens in model space, and then you have layout 1, layout 2. We'll go through paper space and model space as well later on. Coming down across here, you've got model space and paper space. Like I said, you can flick between the two. You've got your display drawing grid mode. So F7 turns it off, or you can click this little button down here to turn it on and off. I generally work with the grid off. I don't find in AutoCad that grid helps me. In AutoCad Electrical, however, I do use the grid, but you work AutoCad Electrical slightly different to AutoCad in that with AutoCad you create your templates on paper space and then you use the viewports to view your model space, and then you can have a lot of different drawings in model space and bring them up individually as you need them in paper space to print out, to plot. Whereas in AutoCAD Electrical, you just generally use model space. I don't think I ever use paper space in AutoCAD Electrical. You create your template on model space and all the references work from your template. I'm going to go through AutoCAD Electrical further down the line. So yeah, we turn the grid off. Snap mode, I don't have snap mode on. Snap mode, if you have it on, you'll find in AutoCAD it'll become very annoying. You've got polar snap and grid snap, you just don't need them. You may find that you want to use it, but basically it means that whenever you're trying to put a line down, draw anything, it will always snap to the nearest point, and that can, trust me, that can get very annoying. So then we have dynamic input. You always have dynamic input on. Restrict mode orthogonally. This I don't turn on because it basically everything will be at 90 degrees, which is fine if you want to draw squares, but if you want to actually use CAD, don't have that turned on. What you do want on is polar tracking, and as you see when I hover over these buttons, it brings up what it is, but it also brings up the shortcut. So you've got F8 will toggle that, so you can use your F8 on your keyboard. And when you get to know these commands, you'll use them a lot more just using the keyboard rather than having to click down this bottom corner. Polar tracking F10. We also have polar tracking on. I find extremely useful. I always set it at 15, 30, 45 and 60. That's the angles that it will track at, and you'll find that I'll explain it a bit more later on, but you'll find it is extremely handy having polar tracking. if you want to draw from a point to another point on your screen. Isometric draft, and we'll go through that later on. Snapping references and 2D snap reference points. So your snapping, what I generally have on is all these ones that you can see. Your endpoint, midpoint, center, geometric center, quadrant, intersection. Node, I don't use node, and I don't use nearest either. Nearest you'll find is extremely annoying, where you'll be trying to draw a line to a point, and if there's any nodes near it, it will automatically keep drawing your line to that point, which again is very annoying. If you have too many snaps on, you'll find that it will pull your lines, and it will pull your everything you need to do. It will pull it out of the way of what you want to do. So you'll find that extremely annoying. So yeah, I generally have these ones on. I'd say I don't use nearest and I don't use node. 3D snapping, we're not going to do 3D drawing at the minute, so we don't worry about that. Annotation objects, I'll go through that later. Your scale, obviously scale is very important, especially if you're doing scaled drawings. You can change the scale in here, or you can do custom scales, but we'll go through that later as well. Workspace switching, you can switch between your workspace. You can see I've got a workspace set up. So once you have got everything how you want it to be, you set up your workspace, and it'll automatically go back to that when you click on it. So it saves you having to reset CAD up every time you use it. And the same with the template. Once you've set a template up, you'll find that you can go to that template, and I have it start up on that template, and all your layers and everything are already in that template, which means you don't have to redo them every time. And the same with your layouts. When you get your paper space, once you've created a template on here, you'll stick to it, and you can create annotations on it that you can change, but the overall template remains the same, and we'll go through all that later. So yeah, that's the basic setup of CAD. That's how I like to use it. You can see all these in the bottom corner. These are what I keep on, and say I don't use grid. So the first thing I'm going to go through is the line. It's very basic again. The line is the most basic and common object in AutoCAD drawings of any discipline. So AutoCAD electrical, AutoCAD, all of them lines, obviously. Very, very basic. Each segment in an object is a line, and it can be edited separately. You can assign properties such as layer, line type, line weight. The simplest method to draw a line is to cut two locations in the drawing area. However, you'll want your drawing to be much more precise. So you can either use line up here, and if you hover over it, it will tell you exactly what it does. So if you hover over anything in the menu space, it will tell you what it is and what it does. So you can either click or simply type L, enter, and specify your first point. So we're going to specify a point there. We've got it set up in millimeters, so if I want to do, say, if I want to do it to a meter, 1,000 mil, there you go, and it will just draw it straight. Now, if you can see this green line that's coming up, this is my polar tracking, and this will keep, you see the individual angles, so it goes from 15 degrees to 30 degrees to 45 degrees, 60, 75, 8, 90, and all the way around. This is why I have this set up, because it's, if you have if you want to draw to places, you can use another, like an endpoint, to specify where you want to draw to. So if I go to there and pull it up, this is now going to stay at 90 degrees with my first line. So if I want to draw a triangle, I'm going to stay with 90 degrees. You see, and this is now tracking at 150 degrees and 90 degrees. So I can draw a triangle. I can draw straight down here. There you go. easy triangle. Now without polar tracking, it's a lot harder to draw that in its space. So I've drawn a basic triangle, we're using the lines. Now if I wanted to make these into a shape, you can join them up. So you can do P-edit, select a line. Do you want to turn it into one? So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say join for J. Again, this is all shortcut commands. I'm going to select this one, and this one, and this one, and press enter. Enter again, and now it's turned into a polyline. So now this is moved as a solid object. If I'm not happy with that and I want to change it back, if I type in X, this is explode, select that, press enter, it turns it back into my individual lines. So that's a very useful thing. Obviously we have polyline, which I'll do next, but there's your 3 lines, and you can turn it into an object, or you can explode it back into lines.